So what we'll do now is we will upload a data set and we will work through it. And the timing is really good because this morning, I just finished a condo apartment up in Square One. And we'll kind of just show you guys quickly here. This was the condo. It's a brand new unit building here. There's a two bedroom at 350, oh sorry, 430 Square One Drive, corner unit. And I was able to add this to my chart here, to my report. And I was able to ask it to develop these two charts to show the relationship between sale price and above grade floor area. All the sales, subject's purchase price was here, and the appraised value was here, more closer to the trend line. The R squared is here, and then the price, the regression model is here. And then this is the relationship between sale price per square foot and above grade floor area. So let's work through this example first. Um, we're gonna open up this spreadsheet right here, City Center and Credit View. Now, City Center and Credit View share a common boundary. Some of these condos are kind of on that boundary. And so we rely heavily on those condos as well. I've been updating this spreadsheet every time I get an assignment in this area. It takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to update it. And you can see here that there's a lot of sales here going back to May of 2025, all the way up until today. I updated it based on the most recent sales. The elements that I have here on this spreadsheet are that I have sold price, type, style, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, the floor area, the source of the floor area, parking spaces, exposure, air built, locker, and balcony. The only element here that requires my custom input is this. But because I pretty much have all of these buildings now and they're ear built, when I update another 5 sales, 10 sales, then I can automatically quickly just search to see what the building ear built is and input that into the other most recent sales. So this morning I was able to update it based on these most recent sales here. And then I was able to search on my spreadsheet what was the year built for this one and this one and this one. And then I could input that and I updated it. So that shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes really to update that. But this really helps because I'm able to use this sheet to not only generate the charts that I need, but also to find the right comparables. And that really helps today, especially when you have an area like this where there are a lot of comparable sales and you need to find your comps quickly based on a certain set of parameters. So let's do it. Let's upload this spreadsheet into it. So we click on this little pen here. Oops, I'm not sure what's happening. Let me try it again. I think my computer might be having a bit of a brain lapse here. So we're going to upload this sheet right here. And guys, if you have any questions, anything you want to ask, I'm not monitoring the chat right now. So please feel free to interrupt me, unmute yourself and interrupt me just in case you want me to address anything in particular. I don't want to fall behind on the chat. So just feel free to talk as you see fit. So I've uploaded the spreadsheet here and I have would like to hide. So I can, okay. And so let's go for a chat right here. Let's do it again. Sorry. It uploads it and then automatically goes into the preliminary notes right here. And now you can start kind of asking it questions immediately. You can ask it using whichever model you want, but let's just do GPT 5.1. And let's first take a look at the sales over time. And I'm going to ask it to give me a scatter plot of sale prices over time. Include a trend line and show, well, the R square will not matter as much here, but let's just see what it does here. So what we're looking to see is there a trend over time in this data set? And I know that we have a bunch of stats. We have the district trends, we have the HPI, but this is a good way to get an idea as to if there is a discerning trend in your data set before you begin your analysis. Because if you are going to build a regression model and there is a time trend, the time component should be factored into your regression model. That's called a multiple variable regression, whereas a single variable regression takes into consideration only one variable. Multiple can take into consider a lot of variables. So in this case, it's running the code, it's generating the Python code to do what you need to do, and it will spit out a scatter plot soon. Well, I think that might be a typo here. There might be a typo here on this one. Um, okay, let me try this again. And you can talk to the model like a human being. Doesn't look accurate. Can you try again? And you're able to this way kind of work with the models, and it responds phenomenally well, actually. If something isn't going right, if something isn't looking right, then you can let it kind of redo it or fix the issues that. I'm not sure what's going on here, but let me try a different one. Let's try this one here. So this is another spreadsheet that I have. I'm just trying to kind of show
什
you.
么啊？披萨？
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was either, Matt.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Funny enough, I was working with it this today and it was perfectly fine, but sometimes these models do end up creating issues.
It's perfect timing when it's people watching, right?
I know, right? So this was a one example here. It gave me and then you can see that it didn't add a trend line, but you can see that the trend is kind of downwards here. But now you can say include a trend line and make a note as to whether the trend is increasing, decreasing, or stable. And it can also make suggestions. You add a trend line, which we have asked it to do, focus on a specific date range, or you can log transform. It just goes a little bit beyond what we need to do here. But uh, as the analysis evolves, feel free to ask it to add this, remove this, change this, make a note here, give me a PDF, produce it as a JPEG image. So it seems to me the trend line feature seems to be a bit of an issue today. But it does say here that the slope is approximately $4,000 downwards per sale over time. It is a decreasing trend line, but maybe we can tackle the trend line after, or you feel free to switch the models as well. And let's give this one a shot, a Claude's model. Yeah, I think right now something is there's an issue with with the analytics here. But let's kind of just plow through it. But you should have a general idea that it can produce a scatter plot over time, and you should definitely look at the trend over time. If you are going to run a regression model to kind of predict values, then a time component should be factored in if there is a discerning time trend in your data. So kind of let's go back, and now we've already uploaded the condos, and I would like now to see a scatter plot of sale price versus above grade floor area. And it's going to now do that. We're using clause model, even though the report that I have here used the GPT-5 model. And you're able to get an you see the sale price versus above grade floor area. But this is now only going to include
है
all sales.
मट्ठी नहीं उठाई मैंने।
Sorry,
वो
guys,
वैसे भी इधर आ गया, वो मेरा
can you
वेबिनार
guys
शुरू हो
mute?
ये लिए ना ये।
I'm going to mute a couple of people just in case. And so we have an idea as to how sold prices have evolved relative to floor area. And this is all of the sales in the data set from May 1st, 2025 to today, and all the buildings from 1975 all the way up until 2023, which is the most recently built building. But my subject property is brand new. So I want to focus on units, say, that are less than 5 years old. I want to focus on maybe two bedrooms, two bathrooms, because subject is two bedrooms and two bathrooms. Or I might want to focus on sales in the past 2 months only, as we do have a restriction in our reports that comparables must be within the past 3 months. But I think now we're focusing more on the last 2 months, especially for condo apartments. So let's ask the model to refine further. Let's ask it, redo the scatter plot, but this time you focus on sales that have sold over the past 2 months and using buildings that are built in 2020 or after or newer. We provide the scatter plot with a trend line, show the regression equation and the R square. So you should be able to see that it's generating a code, it's running. You can actually read through the code as well, put in the title here, the date, the build is 2020 plus, and then it's going to produce an updated scatter plot from the past 2 months, September 14th to November 13th, buildings built 2020 or newer, and this is the refined scatter plot. This is this is essentially what we need. And Terry, can you please unmute? So this is essentially what we need here in terms of the comparables that we will likely be relying on for the property. And this is a very, very good model. This is 78% R squared, which means that 78, 79% of the variation in sale prices for these relatively newer condos in these communities can be explained by just floor area alone. And this is the equation, R squared, the 21 sales. And now you can plot subject on this thing, on this chart. And so you can see here that my appraised, the purchase price on my report was 681,900, which works out to be $814 a square foot. And my appraised value was 575. So why don't we go ahead and we'll try that. We'll put that in there. And we'll say that my subject property offers 838 square feet. Sorry, guys, my computer is not acting very well here. And was purchased for a 681,900. Plot this on the scatter plot. Also, my appraised value was 575. Plot this as well. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to show the reader graphically where the appraised value lands relative to the most recent sales of similar vintage units in these two communities, relative also to the sale price that occurred about 6 years ago. And this, I feel like, really answers a lot of questions for our readers and our clients as to why the appraised value was so low or why it differs so much from the purchase price. Is it becomes very easy to see this, and you can see that it has provided a legend with the sale price, and the appraised value is here, and this makes a lot more sense. And then you can copy and paste that into your report as an extra image page. It has a little bit of a synopsis here to just kind of show you this, the purchase price is significantly above the trend line, while the appraised value is closer to the trend line. Based on the regression equation, an 838 square foot would be expected to sell for approximately $603,000. And this is the equation, how that's calculated. Now, you can also ask it to do the same, do a similar scatter plot, but for sale price per square foot versus square feet. And that would be something more in the line or more aligned with this one right here, which shows the relationship with above grade finished area relative to sale price per square foot of above grade finished area. And that relationship obviously is negative because as the square footage increases, the price per square foot should decrease. And this is also another way of seeing the relative difference between the purchase price as well as the appraised value and the most recent comparable sales that have occurred in this area. So you can use some of these strategies, you can use some of these techniques to come up with very good scatter plots, very good charts to kind of to include in your reports. And here is the scatter plot. That was very fast actually. And that's because I've disabled advanced reasoning. Advanced reasoning will take a couple of minutes to produce. It might produce a better output, but you will have to go through a bit of a waiting process. And if you do want that better output, what I typically do is as I'm working through the report myself, I'm having Julius run on the background and I'm asking it to produce what I eventually will need. So this is a condo example to kind of show you guys how a condo can be analyzed. You can feel free to develop a regression model. You can use time, you can use bathrooms, you can use above grade floor area. If you have a column for whether the unit is a corner unit, you can introduce that too as a variable. Exposure can also be analyzed. Exposure is available in the on the MLS listings, and my data set also includes exposure as a variable. But because exposure combinations are so much, it becomes kind of hard to be able to see if there's a discerning difference between, northeast versus southeast or southwest. So I wouldn't place too much emphasis on this. Ear built, you can study that. See, do newer condos sell for more? Is there a relationship between price per square foot and ear built? And what you're doing there is that you're holding the square footage constant, and you're trying to isolate that variable just to study if newer buildings would go for more. So
May I ask a question?
sure.
Um, so in the report, should you also have the data set?
I don't include that. If you want to include the data set, you can ask Julius to produce a table of the data and ask it to generate whatever information you want to be presented in that table. it's very easy to do, and we can try that here actually. And that's something that I did kind of this morning, and I asked it to give me the top or the give me a list of comparables of sales that have occurred in the past 60 days from today that are most similar in livable above grade floor area to my subject property. And you can kind of remind it 838 square feet and built after 2020 or on or after 2020. And when you have a very large data set, especially the one for condo apartments, this is a very easy way of finding the best comparables that you should likely be relying upon in your report. Because floor area plays a very important role, and is probably the most important factor next to age, then your comparables should naturally rely more on floor area and less on the other variables. And here we have a list of comparables that it found. It found 21 sales under these restrictions here. So it says, here's a list of comparable sales from the past 60 days, and this is the date range for buildings built 2020 or newer, sorted by similarity to your subject's 838 square feet. And then you can ask it to restrict further, refine this further based on bedroom count, bathroom count, size difference is also calculated. You can ask it to go within the last 2 months or 1 month as well. The objective is obviously to find the most efficient way to narrow a large data set of comparables that are the most similar to subject property. And you can restrict that. And then you can also ask that, as per Gord's suggestion, to give me this list in a table format that I can include in my report. And you can add other variables to this table, make it look professional, and let's just say pretty. You can also ask it to output this thing in a PDF, in a JPEG, because JPEGs work better for our reports. That would probably be the more optimal strategy. So let's see what it gives us here. I think we're kind of going beyond the 15-minute time mark, but we'll see what it does here.
And if I can ask a little further, this is a data set that you've built by adding items one at a time?
That's right. Yeah, I added it as not one at a time. I download it from the MLS, and I just copy and paste it into my spreadsheet that I update it every time I have. So if I receive another condo in this area, like say in a few days, I take a look at it early next week and I'm working through that report. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that data set. I'm going to take a look at the most recent sales since my previous input, and I'll update my data set and I'll rerun the analysis in the background while I'm working through that report. So by the time I'm ready to input this information into the report, all of the charts are ready. The objective is to kind of do multiple things at the same time, so your efficiency improves. And you can see that it gave us a link with a HTML table. And you can ask this to be converted to a PDF file. You can screenshot this and you could input that in your report. And it's gone above and beyond what we really needed to do by actually including the price per square foot as well, and the delta from the square footage, which is basically the difference between subject and these comps. Does that kind of answer your question, Gord?
Well, what worries me is that it's a list that we've created and we don't necessarily tell the reader that it has come from MLS. To me, it would be important to include the MLS number.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, I think that's important because otherwise it's like, well, this is your data. How do I know where it came from? And you can answer, well, it came from MLS, but I think the safest way to address that is include the MLS number. And Uh, Fortunately, you didn't need to look up all the square footage because it generally is appearing in the MLS now.
Yes, that's right. But I do when I am working through my reports, if the source is nothing other than MPAC, then I will buy the report just to double check that number,
Mhm.
and just in case it includes a balcony or something. And then I will up if there is a difference in the square footage between MPAC and what is stated on the MLS, then I will update my data set and rerun the analysis.
Yeah. No, I think that's safer to have the MLS number because then it's, that's our source. If it's
Yeah,
incorrect information, I'm sorry, we relied on what we considered to be reasonable, but unfortunately it wasn't, if that is the case.
Yeah, as we can see here now, we've got the MLS number. If I asked it to input the MLS number. You can ask it to do anything, really. You can ask it to produce it, add other variables. You can make a note at the bottom saying, it says here that total comparables 21, analysis day, sales price period. You can ask it to say data source treb, and just to kind of make sure that the readers aware that our data, or these stats these sales are coming from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board.
Right on.
So that's condos, and that's a very quick way of doing condos. You can develop models, you can price your property, you can do graphs. There's a mapping feature in the background as well. Especially with Gemini, Google's model is based on heavily on the mapping features, so you can add another column to your table and say, my property is located at 430 Square One Drive. Can you include the distance from each of these comparables to the subject property? And it will add that as well. It will also filter on the distance from the subject property as well in the event that you're including comparables that are far away and you want to narrow them down between, say, something that's within 1 kilometer radius of subject property. But just for the sake of time, we will kind of go beyond that. And I did say to a few people that if there is a further interest, if people want to go further and deeper into this, I'd be happy to do more. But if anyone has any questions for condos, then feel free to ask for now. I see that there are a couple of people waiting in the chat, and I'm gonna just admit them here, Andre and Chris. Anyone have any questions? And chat is open, or just feel free to talk as well. Let me know. But
Oh, I'll make the comment. I think it's ideal for identifying what's the right um, adjustment to use for parking, maybe a secondary parking or from no parking to parking,
yeah,
correct?
absolutely, absolutely. I haven't covered it, but I do have a column here, total parking spaces. And you can see some of them have two, one, two. And this is something that I spoke to Spencer about yesterday as well, is that this is an AI model. They know whatever knowledge is out there. So you don't have to tell it, but you can ask it, do a paired sales analysis for parking spaces. I want to I want to determine my adjustment for a second parking space for my appraisal report. And so it'll read through that, it'll analyze it. You don't have to tell it what a paired sales analysis is, but if you want to be specific, it's only going to add more depth to your output. I could tell it to restrict the paired sales only within a certain building. I could ask it to restrict the paired sales within a certain sale date. But these AI models are already aware of these things. They know that a paired sales analysis between two properties has to keep as many variables constant just to be able to isolate the variable that you are trying to determine an adjustment for. So let's see the output here. You can ask it to do a price difference, median price difference, average price difference between two parking spaces and three parking spaces. What is the value for three or four? The sky really is the limit here as to what your imagination is and what you require in terms of the output. But one thing that I will say is that be very critical of your output. Make sure you analyze, you read, and make sure you refine further. Kevin asks, Julius is only working with Excel sheets. Can I deal with a PDF file? It can deal with anything. It can deal with PDF. It can deal with Excel sheets. You can go directly into the MLS, save your comparables, output as a PDF, even with photos, and throw that into Julius and ask it to develop a table of all the information that's in each of those comparable sales. So you don't have to use Excel. I just prefer Excel because it's a more cleaner way of doing it. But I have asked it to analyze photos in the past. I have asked it to develop a ranking a criteria of those photos relative to my subject property, and it does a really good job on that too. So it can study anything.
Do you share your subject properties photos with the thing with
I
Julius?
do. I do. I have done it before. There is a restriction on 20 photos, so choose your photos carefully.
Mhm.
Um, but you know, I guess there is a bit of a conundrum where you kind of restrict, should I share? Am I allowed to share? Um, it's a decision that you'll have to make as the analyst. So you can see that the average price difference is $46 a square foot or $31 a square foot. It's giving you a bunch of charts here to study the price difference between these two, one space and two spaces. Seems like it's about 40,000, sorry, about $75,000. But I would be very critical of this because I know that there is a recent sale in this community of a parking space that went for $25,000. So if there is a recent sale, you should probably be relying more on that than on this.
Okay, and I just have a just for like clarity, when the data you basically you'll take like an area, a community, and then you'll just every time you do a condo there, you'll just keep uh, I guess like accumulating the data in your spreadsheet over and over.
Absolutely. Let's just quickly go through how I do that. I just want to make sure everyone knows. Um, so today I did that condo in square
And
one.
sorry, Amit, before you start, and do you have to do that? Can I just go and grab as much data as I want from um, uh, the MLS and just throw it at the Julius? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the case of this condo assignment, there's a lot of sales, so it becomes very hard to kind of include them in one PDF sheet, at least based on my experience. But I have done a situation where I can just open up a PDF of raw sales from Treb emailed to me and just throw them in Julius and just do it that way instead of updating my data set regularly. I just prefer that in this case, I prefer to update my data set. So I last time I updated my data set was about a week ago. So in this case, I'm just gonna quickly go through it and show you guys. Let's just do the 14 days just in case there was an overlap of any sales that I may have missed. And obviously, we're not gonna include any condo townhouses because it's a condo apartment. So these are my only restrictions. You can see that there is a parking spot that's sold here for $25,000. So that Julius adjustment probably doesn't make much sense, but it is a good way to show that there is a discernible market difference. But this should be your number one priority for adjustment. Um, so this is the most recent sales that have occurred. I'm going to click on my condo AVM table format. It's aligned with my format for my spreadsheet, sorted by the most oldest sales. And then all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to drag it from here. I'm just oops, copy and paste all of that. And then I'm going to go into my spreadsheet here and go right down to the bottom. And just assuming obviously that I know that I have, these are all the most recent sales that I don't have yet. I'm going to do a paste, click on this, click on this little notepad. It changes the formatting, gets rid of get rid of this table right here. I'm gonna move this thing over just to align it. And then I'm gonna highlight all of the most recent sales. I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna move them over here. And this is just for my own preference. I do have it just to keep track of the sales. Make sure that each one has a unique ID. And I just update this as a unique ID. And now I have the most updated sales in my data set. And if you want to make changes to it, You can make changes to it. In this case, the year builds are not filled in, and I will fill it in based upon the year builds that I have already filled in here. That's how I update my data set, and that's how you can develop a new data set in Excel using the same format, and you can choose your own columns as you would depending on the information that you require. Anyone have any questions on this? So Kevin is asking, so you don't have to collect and input your own data. You can generate the sheet from mail. Yes, you can. And I did it yesterday, Kevin. I was at the AI conference and they showed us how to do that. And you can ask MLS to generate a PDF of your comparables. And you can generate that as a PDF and upload that to Julius or whichever AI program you're using. And then you can use that to do your data analysis. It will read through the all of the comps and the entire listings, and it will extract all the data that you need as well. So if you want to kind of generate a table of information from, say, 20 comparable sales, you can do that. Upload the PDF and ask it to give me a table of above grade floor area, sale prices, sold date, and the any other variable. You can also ask it to analyze all the photos, develop a condition ranking of each comparable from scale 1 to 10, and then you can upload your own comparable photo, your own subject property photos, and compare that to subject. So if there's no more questions, I will move forward here. We're 40 minutes into a condo. So let's go straight into the land value. I think that'll be the most interesting. And it will be a very interesting way of seeing how you can develop land valuations. So this is the report that I wrote. It's in Mineola. Oops. And Mineola is broken down into two parts, Mineola East and Mineola West. Mineola East is east of Ontario. Mineola West is west of Ontario. There is a discernible price difference between the two communities. For those who might not be aware, Canoli is a school that is in Mineola West that commands a very high premium for that community. And therefore, the property prices in Mineola West are much higher than they are in Mineola East. The question is how do we quantify this? How do we figure this out? How do we figure out the land value of this lot? This is a 149 by 110 lot. This is the lot area. This is the report that I wrote. And I'm just going to quickly show you guys here where my charts are. And it's hard to find vacant lots, but it is possible to find sales of properties that are sold for essentially land value. So you can use those, and that's what I did here. Manual land value analysis. The first chart here shows the sale price versus lot area, and it's a clear trend upwards. And I've used Julius to discern Mineola West to just between Mineola East color-wise. And then I also did the same thing here, sale price versus front footage. And obviously it's a very clear difference. So let's recreate these charts. Let's study land valuation and how it can be done. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to show you my data set first. And we will open it up. So these are the sales that I found over the past 1 year in Mineola, both Mineola East and Mineola West. I went through each and every one of them, and I noted the ones that are basically selling for land value, very dated comparables. There might be an appeal for builders, renovators, contractors on the description. Anything that I felt was more favored towards redevelopment, I included in this. And so this is over the past 1 year. And you have detached, you have different styles. I double checked the lot frontage and the lot depth, and the air built would probably not be an important variable in this case, but I did end up inputting it. Lot area as well, I got from MPAC. I did not go on Geo Warehouse. I used a polygon tool in the case that it was an irregular shaped lot, and I was able to quickly get the lot area. This took me about 20 minutes to put together. And this is essential for a report that you're doing on land value. You can have your 3 or 4 or 5 comps in there, but this is a very clear way of getting a lot of data and showing it in a way that is very easy to see to the eye and to the reader. So we're gonna upload this. I'm gonna close this down just to save my memory. We're gonna open up a new chat now. And so you can do chats here. You can open up a new chat and it memorizes all of your previous chats here, all the analysis that you've done in the past. You can open it up again and you can recollect that information or re-upload those stats with new data as well. So let's do a new chat and let's ask it to upload Mineola land analysis. And it's already taking a look at the data. The first thing you can do is you can ask it to do an EDA, an exploratory data analysis. Julius knows what an EDA is, and you can, if you want to, give me an EDA. And in an EDA, Julius or whichever model that you're using will go through the data set and provide all the basic information about your data set and give you some introductory charts. So this is a good way to start your analysis. Another good way to start your analysis is to figure out, is there a time trend? And I'm not too sure if the time component is working right now, but we'll go through it. We'll give it a shot after it goes through the EDA, and we'll try to figure out if there is a time trend. And if there is a time trend, you want to incorporate that time variable in your regression model. You want to make sure you capture as many factors as you can. But in this case, we only have three factors. We have a lot frontage, lot area, and the subcommunity, which is Mineola East versus Mineola West. We're going to figure out how much that price difference is. So it's done in EDA. It found 23 sales in Mineola with 15 features tracking MLS listings, property characteristics, sold price information, sample tables are produced, average sold price, average lot area, average days on market, year built, ranges from 1949 to 1953. Not a very big difference here. It gives you by style, by community, 17 are in Mineola East, 6 are in Mineola West. I know that because I worked with this data set. And it gives you some visual analysis as well of the distribution of sale prices, the sold price versus sub-community. So this is a very quick way to see that Mineola West is considerably higher than Mineola East. But the difference in these median prices should not be your adjustment. That's a very rudimentary way of doing the analysis. You want to have a more refined way, and we'll go through that after. Lot area versus sale price. This is a quick, pretty much done the work for us here, but we'll analyze this in greater detail. Price distribution is right skewed because there are some really high price properties. Mineola West commands higher median price than Mineola East. There is a positive correlation between lot area and sold price, very obvious, and the days on market varies. Sold prices over time, I would not rely on this too much. And once again, this is pretty irrelevant as well. So let's ask it to give me a scatter plot of sale price versus area. Include a trend line, show the R square, and the regression model. And here we go. So we have a very basic scatter plot that clearly shows the relationship between lot area and sale price. The regression model is right there. I know there's a bit of an overlap between the legend. You can ask it to move the legend down to the bottom right, and the R squared is here as well. So very good R square for the fact that it's only accounting for one variable right now. And then if you want to see further, so you can see the model is here. $103 a square foot times lot area. This is the base price. I guess you could kind of interpret this to be an entry level price to enter this community, to buy a lot in this area. And then every other square foot adds about $103 a square foot to the lot area. So that's a way to kind of see it. Let's kind of show color code the scatter plot based on sub community. That'll be a very good way of seeing the difference in the pricing between the two. The chart that I generated a few weeks ago, it automatically had two trend lines on there, one for Mineola East, another one for Mineola West. You can ask it to do that too. You can ask it to display two trend lines, color coding based on, say, yellow for Mineola East or red for Mineola West. And that's also another way to do it. It'll do two regressions as well. It can show you the regression for Mineola East versus West. And here we see that the higher price properties in Mineola West are generally above the trend line here. You can see that this two right here and that one, except for this one here. So if your comparable is in Mineola East, then you should probably remove the comparables from Mineola West just to have a better regression equation. And by getting rid of the ones in Mineola West, your regression equation will be a better predictor of land values in this area. So that's a quick way to see how you can get the lot size versus sale price difference. And now let's figure out how much should I adjust for Mineola East versus Mineola West. So let's ask it to build a regression model to estimate sale price. Include the following variables: lot area, sub-community, and then I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet here. I'm going to see what other components would probably be important here. I would say time, maybe time, but let's work with these two for now. And let's see what it gives me. And what we're going to do is that we're going to work with this one, and then after we're going to develop one with time to see if time is statistically significant. If there is a time trend for land prices. I would be surprised if there is none, only because as real estate prices have fallen the past year, and demand for custom homes, a bit brand new construction is declining. Therefore, the supply of these kind of brand new properties should probably be declining or increase, or at least it should not be there that strongly. So it has developed a model. It's improved the R square considerably. We went from a previous R square of 76% to now what is 85%. That's a big jump given the fact that we only included one more variable. The equation has changed. Now this intercept has increased, so the entry level price for this area is about $500,000. This has decreased. It went from 103 now to what is 88, which is still pretty close. And the main component is this dummy variable, which says that if your property is in Mineola West, that's going to command just over $300,000 more than if a property is in Mineola East. And given that the R square is well above 80%, this is a very, very, very good model. This is a very good model to estimate sale price. But let's see if there is a time component. And it gave a bunch of residual plots and showing you how the model performs. And it has given you some analysis here, but I'm not sure if there should be a time variable. So let's ask it. Should I include a time variable in my model? Is there a time? Is there a time variation in the data set? Does including time as a variable improve my model? So if you're not sure if you should do something, ask it. Should I include this? Should I not include it? Will it add any more value to my analysis? These models are very, very intelligent. They can tell you, the R squared only went up by 1 percentage point, but your median error increased by 10%. So don't include it. Or they'll say, yeah, your R squared went up by 10 percentage points, and there's clearly a time component here, and you should definitely include it. But whatever it does say, it should be taken critically, and you should be understanding that the appraiser's judgment is very, very important. It's extremely important. These models are not perfect. They have created issues in the past. I remember once I asked it to tell me what a fruit was, the particular fruit that I had no idea what it was. I took a photo of it. It looked like an orange, but it told me that it's a banana. And so that was a bit disappointing. So it's given me a bunch of stats here, 353 days, 1 year of data distributed across 10 months in 2025. It's broken down the number of sales per month, and it shows the time trend here. It doesn't seem like there is much of a time trend. Sale price per square foot over time definitely is going down, but let's see what it says. They reveal an interesting pattern. Daily changes about 53 bucks a day. The R squared is very insignificant, and which is what it says right here. And then the price per square foot is statistically significant, showing that prices may be softening over time and controlling for lot size. That is a very, very important result. It discerns the models, lot area plus subcommunity, has an R squared of 85%, but the R squared does go up a little bit. And then the median error also decreases. You can see it went from 138 to 132. And so let's see what the recommendations say. Yes, you should include a time, but with caveats, pros, cons. And then you can decide as the appraiser, should I include the time variable? And what will the model be if I do include it? Do the coefficients change? Does the difference between Mineola East and Mineola West change? In this case, I don't think it will change because the raw data doesn't seem to suggest that there is a time difference here in this area. But that's something that can be done. The point is that you can ask it to do whatever you want, and then now you can say my subject property offers lot area of. I think I still have the condo open. So let's go back to the PDF. I don't think I have it open right now, but let's just say it offers 15,000 square feet of vacant land. Can you estimate the sale price? It is located in Mineola West and plot it on the scatter plot. So it's a very similar approach to the condos that we did. We want to display it on the chart. We want to use the model to figure out what the price is. And we already know that if the price was in Mineola East versus Mineola West, the adjustment should be about $300,000. And I think I had my report open, but I will open it up again. You can see here that my adjustment for Mineola East was $318,000, which is about the same as what the model had predicted. And I had included that in my report, in my analysis. I actually went into quite some depth here to explain to them that the regression analysis of sale price by a lot area estimates a land value of 2138. But we developed a regression model that incorporates a subcommunity variable in the report. So it has an adjusted R squared of 85%, and that the subcommunity variable is statistically significant. This model suggests that the lot adjusted should be $88 a square foot, and properties in Mineola West sell for $318,000 more than the properties in Mineola East. And then these are the adjusters used in the direct comparison approach grid for the 4 or 5 comparables. And the model estimates subject's vacant lot value at 2286. Then that was my range for the comparable sales, and my appraised value was 22. based upon the square footage and the front footage as well. And I had included these in my report. Mineral land value analysis, just based upon lot area, and then another one based upon this is a more refined approach, sales of all dwellings with minimal improvement value added it to that at the bottom there. So there is a difference between the two charts. I just don't, I think the one of them had incorporated the sub-community variable as well. And so we go back to Julius and we'll kind of see what it's up to and showing us whatever it can do. And here we go. We have our output here. We asked it to give us a vacant land value estimate of 15,000 square feet, plot it on the chart, estimate the sale price. And it gave me all of this output. Model with time variable because it remembers. Remember, we have memory enabled. It remembers that we were considering whether we should incorporate a time variable. And we can see that with the time variable, the value is 2,083,000, and then the value without the time variable is 2,164. So it clearly shows that the recommended estimate is that if you are using the most recent sales, or if you're coming up with the most recent value, come up with a value that gives you a land value of 2.1 with the time component, the price per square foot, base value, lot area contribution, Mineola West premium 282,029, time adjustment. Because this went down because now it's incorporating a time adjustment to the analysis. And this is my chart. It shows you that if subject property else is about 15,000 square feet, it should be closer to $2.1 million right over here. And there's some more information right here as well. Anyone have any questions on land valuation? This can be used for properties that are in very dated condition in a transitioning neighborhood where prices are declining, prices are mostly going for land value. It doesn't have to be a vacant lot like mine. So if you're appraising a detached bungalow, it's a big lot, and you have a bunch of comps in your report, you can you can use this kind of an approach to come up with your land value, which will be a considerable component of the overall appraised value as well.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Amit, it makes sense that it is the land value that is falling or decreasing over time in the current market we're in.
Yeah, that's right. The equation is that total value equals improvement value plus land value. And so improvement value depreciates over time.
Right.
Landscaping, I don't think depreciates. It was really interesting in the course that I'm taking right now. They say that you should not depreciate landscaping in your cost approach. It should be undepreciated. That was just a side thing that I found interesting, and I'm going to start incorporating that into my own reports. But it's the land value that is decreasing over time. It's not the house itself. The house is depreciating, but it's the land values that are fundamentally changing here.
In our current market, I mean, up until 2022, the land value was the item that was increasing.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah, at that time, the land value was increasing, and now the land values are going down.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's probably also why Julius or this model here has stated you should be using the time adjusted land valuation. And so the difference in the sub-community adjustment had decreased because there was a component of time. And then if you wanted to, you could actually ask it to show you the model of time, lot area, sub-community, give you the coefficients. And naturally, the coefficients would change according to the variables that you have input. Any questions on this? Anything anyone would like to add? Doesn't seem like it. So we're at 2 o'clock. I did want to go through a detached property, but I feel like the detached property it would be very similar to the land valuation. I'm going to quickly take 5 minutes and I'm going to quickly show you how good it can be for detached. Detached will take more time. It will take it because there's a lot more variables when it comes to detached properties relative to relative to condos. So let's take 5 more minutes and let's quickly go through a appraisal that I did for Churchill Meadows. Churchill Meadows is in Mississauga, about a 15, 20, 25-year-old subdivision. Age doesn't really matter as much there. It's composed of townhouses, detached, semi-detached, but I had to do a detached home there. And I wanted to figure out what is the most important variable. So let's see what it does. Give me an EDA. I find that if you ask it to give you an EDA, it's the best way to start. Sometimes I'm confused as to where I should start. Should I study the lot area? Should I study the LFA? Should I study the corner versus the interior? Should I study the number of kitchens? But an EDA is a very efficient way of figuring out the basics. And I have a question. Paul is asking, will it have a record a video? Sorry, Paul, are you asking if this entire session is recorded? Because it is. I'm recording it right now. I did I did get a few requests from people who couldn't make the meeting today if I could record this, and I am recording it, and I will have it sent to everyone who wants to view it. Yep. Okay. So my spreadsheet for Churchill Meadows has the following variables. It has type, because we're all looking at detached, bedrooms, bathrooms, above grade finished area. You got the source as well. Just a quick side note, you can study the source. You can see over time, are realtors relying more on impact? Are they relying more on the builder as their source? And I've done that before, and I found that over time, since these rules came into place by TREB that you must include the LFA, over time, there has been a more predominant reliance on MPAC as the source of LFA, which is a good thing. Basement, partially, I had to make changes here only because there's too many variations in the raw basement field that's inputted by an agent. It can be finished separate entrance, finished walkout, unfinished, partial finish, partial basement, partially finished basement, partially finished with walkout. I just wanted to study whether these three components, if it's partially finished, finished, or unfinished, add value. Garage parking spaces, total parking spaces, total kitchens. Total kitchens, obviously, you want to figure out if a basement apartment adds value. So you can do that here. Some of these have three. I would probably look into this a little bit more and see what the third one is. Maybe there's two apartments in the basement. But you can use this column here to figure out whether a basement apartment adds value. Lot frontage, lot depth. This was all inputted by the realtor. If a pool adds value, in this case, there's no pools in this data set. Year built. Once again, this is a very about a 10-year, 15-year age difference. Probably not going to add a considerable difference, but you can study that. You can try to ask it, does year built add value? Lot area. This is manually inputted from MPAC. Every time I get an assignment here, I just update the data set. And if it's a corner lot, you want to figure out if it's whether a corner lot adds is fundamentally different than an interior lot. You can study that too. So the EDA has come back at us and it can show you that, let's go right to the top. Average sold price, average price per square foot. Now, price per square foot for a freehold property is very unreliable unless you know that the land value, that the lot areas are relatively the same. This is very unreliable, but Julius is not aware of this. And I know in America, in the United States, they do rely more on price per square foot for freehold. But personally, I would not rely too much on this number. The average days on market, sale to list price ratio, the average home size, the average lot size. Um, this is because there's no pool in any of the columns, and it gives you a distribution of price per square foot, sold prices, days on market, sale to list price ratios. But for the sake of saving some time, we'll kind of just go straight into the analysis. Just looking at these charts alone, you can see that above grade floor area would probably be the most important variable here. That is a very tight tight distribution of sale prices versus floor area. Lot area as well is very important. Sold prices over time, sold prices by basement type. It doesn't seem like there's a material difference between unfinished and finished, but you can we'll study that further as well. So let's ask it to develop a regression model. Let's try to figure out you can if you don't know the variables that you should ask or to include, you can ask it to develop a regression model on its own. You can tell it, can you give me the best regression model? I'm not a big fan of that approach because these are not perfect. These are not perfect in the sense that it can include floor area and bedrooms, which would not make much sense because that would it'd be double counting. So, but let's just develop a regression model to estimate sale price. Use the following variables. Time, above grade, floor area, lot area. Let's start with these three. And we know that these three are important variables. And after we will add bathrooms and basement, we'll see if these are important variables as well. And it'll tell us if these are statistically significant based upon the data that we have. And then the coefficients on these estimates will give you the adjustments that you need to do for your appraisal reports. So this is the variable. This is the model. The intercept is $440,000. This interpretation of this intercept, I like to think of it as a entry level pricing for that neighborhood. But that can be determined or kind of debated. But the time is that it's suggesting that prices are declining. That's why there's a negative coefficient on time. The above grade area adjuster is $320 a square foot, and the lot adjuster is about $50 a square foot. Above grade finished area has the strongest impact, and each additional square foot adds approximately $320 to the sale price. Lot area contributes $50 per square foot, and time is about $500 per day, decreasing over the 6-month period that we have here. So there is a considerable time difference, a time component here. 85% variation. This is a phenomenal model for such a basic level of variables. We only have essentially two variables. We have floor area and lot area. We do have a time component, but when it comes to the characteristics of the property, if your model can predict 85% based on basically two of the most important variables, which is the floor area and the lot area, you've got a very good model in your hand. And now you can add to it further. You can say, well, give me bathrooms. How much does a bathroom add? How much does the basement add? Is it a corner? Should I include a corner component? So these are some of the analytics that is produced, and let's do it. Let's ask it. If I include the bathrooms variable, will it improve the model? Is bathrooms statistically significant? How about the basement variable? What we're trying to figure out here is, will these additional variables improve the model statistically? And what that means is that there's a trade-off. When it comes to statistics, especially regressions, you do not want to just add as many variables as you can, because adding more and more variables takes away from the degrees of freedom from the model. So you want to keep your model as simple as possible, But if there are variables that are considerably improving the model, those belong in the analysis. But if it improves the R squared or the predictability of that model by a very small amount, then you probably say, hey, I'm only going to be adjusting at cost here for a bathroom, which is probably going to be 10, 15, $20,000 based on the quality of the washroom or the neighborhood that you're in or the type of property that you have. And so maybe it would not be a good idea to complicate the model by adding bathrooms. And if the regression model comes back at you and says that the bathrooms increased value by $85,000 in this subdivision, it probably doesn't make much sense. It's probably incorporating that from some other variable. In that case, I would remove bathrooms and I would keep my model simple. I would come up with a prediction for the value and I would add and adjust accordingly based upon the number of washrooms that I have. Okay, so David says he has to run. Thank you, David. Nippon says hi. Are you able to send a list of common prompts you use, model you use? I can do that, Nippon. It's not a problem. I would recommend that you try it out and play around with it. I'd be happy to do another session in a week or two if there's any other questions. We can kind of go through it this time as a introduction, and in the next session we can do a slightly more advanced session. If people want to kind of experiment together. But the best way to learn these tools is to just go and get your hands dirty and just try it out. That's the way I did it. And that way you can figure out what works and what doesn't work. Okay, so this is kind of just go to the bathrooms and basement variable. This is the original model with the bathrooms. These are the statistics. Bathrooms increased R squared from 85 to 87, and basement increases R squared from 85 to 87. The basement variable provides slightly better improvement by nearly $10,000 by reducing the error by $10,000 compared to the original. This is the output. I'm not going to go too deep into this. Bathrooms is statistically significant. It shows that the bathroom adds $64,000 to the sale price, holding all other variables constant. So I would be a little skeptical of that. If you're going from one washroom to two washrooms, maybe it might do that kind of a difference because that extra washroom would be very important. If you're going from 6 washrooms to 7 washrooms, I probably would not be adjusting $64,000 for that washroom. Basement is partially significant. Unfinished basements are highly significant, reducing the price by approximately $94,000. So it does make sense for an average square footage of 2,500 square feet. If you multiply that by about 45% for the basement, you get about 1,200 square feet at $50 a square foot. You're looking at about $60,000 to $70,000 as a cost. But here we are also potentially accounting for the fact that there could be a kitchen in there, there could be a separate entrance or a walkout. So this doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't make sense. This could be reasonable. So after you have this, then you can decide if I want to include these variables or not. And then you can use, if you do decide to include them, you can input your subject property in here. Say that my subject property offers this many square feet, 6 washrooms, and it offers a basement kitchen. What is the current market value? And you should be fairly close to your appraised value because the R squared on these models is above 80%. So this is a very quick and easy way to figure out a value. Over time, you should be able to take about 5-10 minutes to do something like this. If you update your data set and run your model, you can produce graphs. You can, I did end up including a chart from Julius in my report for something like this. I included one for livable floor area, and I showed that my subject property is about this much square feet, and the properties in this area of this square footage are landing around here. It's a very convenient way of showing that the most important variable, LFA, is suggesting the value should be close to here. And your value obviously would be a little bit different because there would be other components as well that would go into the DCA grid. So 2:17, we're 17 minutes above time. Is there anything that anyone wants to discuss in particular? Does anyone have any questions about this? Feel free to ask on the chat. I have the chat open. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask. No questions, guys? Okay, so this was kind of fun. I really enjoyed it. We can go into more detail. I'd be happy to do another session if you guys have any particular questions or anything you guys want to address. Feel free to email me. If I get enough demand for another session, then I will definitely do another one. We can do more advanced topics as well. But for now, I would recommend everyone just play around with it. If you need a data set, if you need some prompts, send me an email, message on WhatsApp, and I'd be happy to share it. I sent 3 data sets to everyone. Feel free to play around with it and kind of experiment with it in your spare time. And I think everyone's gonna have a great time with it. Yep. Okay. So thank
Matt?
you, guys.